time we've done this before and just had a bit of a chat around the room, it's been, to me, very educational, if I can think of a better word, and I don't think we need a better word. Okay, yesterday I was at my mechanics. This guy's, I guess what you'd call a backyarder, but a backyarder that's been working out of the same shed for the last 25 years, so I'm not 100% sure you'd classify him as a backyarder, but he had a very interesting point of view when it came to business. And that was that he wants to make a certain amount of money each week, and this, well, the number he gave me, he said, I'd like to make $800 to $1,000 a week, and that would make me happy. Now, he's a mechanic working out of a workshop in his own property, so he's not paying rent, but that number sort of interested me, because the guy, if I say the word salt of the earth, that is the type of guy he is. He would do anything for anybody, and I said to him yesterday, the reason I don't come here that much is because I really feel guilty paying you the money that you asked for, because it isn't enough. That was my opinion. I'm interested to know. Sorry?
Name the number.
Yeah.
Yes, go.
So I have a question. So you're going to penalise him for not charging him enough. I mean, when he gives you a bill, could you not just say, I think it's worth $50 more and give him $50?
I have tried that, and it is. He knocks it back. He knocks it back. But I'm more interested in that thought process that he's got there, because I do run across it. I do run across small business people, not necessarily with exactly the same thought pattern, but small business people that really aren't making enough money, but are still living their lives and still doing what they do.
So what makes us small business people if we're working for such little money? Why do we do it?
Okay.
One reason could be that before they became small business people, they were being, in their view, ripped off by the big guys, running small business themselves and feel an empathy for every other small business out there and want to do something better.
But that might give him a lifestyle that he, like, great, charge $1,250, like, if he makes $800 to $1,000 a week, how long is he?
65.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
he's probably got the house paid off, there's no kids at home, he might think, well, that gives me a nice lifestyle, I'm happy with that. I do that every week.
That's a fair point, but this is the way he's been forever.
It sounds like it's a broken record thing, like, I should ask them, define happy.
Yeah.
What's happy? But some people think they'll get this and I'm happy, and they get it and they think,
That's it.
In operation with you too, if he increases his prices, that he won't get to work.
That's true.
you develop yourself,
Yeah.
If he's 65, he could also get through that age bracket. Yeah, I've got a friend of mine who runs his own business, and he's hoping to try and get the bill out of it. Oh yeah, I'll send you a bill. And yet, we're the same, you just, you think, shit. You know what, you're seriously thinking about getting him back to do something, because he just won't give you a bill. Yeah, he might, as I said, might just be happy doing it.
Then there's a send a bill in 6 months' time and you're just about dying and get it.
Yeah,
But how do we know that he hasn't worked really, really hard and lost things because of his work? You know, like marriage breakdowns and stuff like that. So now he just thinks, I'm just not going to push it.
Okay, look, I'll give a little bit more background. Is in a marriage what I call a normal marriage, so not necessarily a happy marriage, not necessarily but it's not a marriage where they're looking at breaking up. Ignore. It's not. They've been married 25 years. The kids are grown. He's really looking towards the retirement thing. He doesn't have the money to retire. But this is the type of business that he has run for the last 25 years. And this is what he's accepting. Yes?
I would actually say he's probably a wealthy man if you look at the description of a wealthy person. And my description of a wealthy person is a person that earns $1 more per day than his requirements. You don't have to be a millionaire. You just have to be earning enough to support your life. And he's probably chosen a certain lifestyle. And that figure he's giving you, $800 to $1,000 a week, is sufficient to maintain that lifestyle. I'd also suggest that when he does go on the pension, him and his wife, it's probably going to be the same lifestyle. Whereas many people who earn big wages have big lifestyles, and then they retire and they can't deal with it because the pension doesn't support the lifestyle they're used to.
Okay,
So
well,
I would
actually,
say to you, I actually think he's probably, in my description, a wealthy man.
Rich within himself.
Fair enough.
Is he an independent bloke? Just works by himself?
yeah, just works by himself. As far as I remember, he's never really employed anyone. It's just been him, and he's been a contractor type person over and above.
He's probably got to a point as well that if he goes any bigger, he's going to have to employ somebody. So he doesn't want to do that. He just wants to keep his business.
But you could charge $10 an hour more.
Yeah, he could.
What was that now?
He's happy. He's a happy man. Yes, if he's happy with that, but he might like to help people. Yeah, I've done the work with a few people. Yeah, we've done well. People I don't know, invoices got lost. Yeah, because we haven't charged. And it helps them. Great.
The trouble with a lot of small businesses, and this is my view, is that we are afraid of charging, we don't value our worth enough. If we employ people, generally, most self-employed people will be paying their employees far more than what they take home, depending on the size of the small business. But if it's a two-man, three-man show, I'll nearly guarantee that. And we also look at a product and say, what would I be prepared to pay for that? Me being tight, I'd say, I wouldn't want to pay more than $150 for that, so therefore I can't charge my customer any more than that, which is wrong.
But it's what you do.
But that's what we do.
Any other comments on that? Because that's actually the way I was hoping this would head.
Yeah, I actually agree with Dave. I think majority of small businesses don't put the right value on what they offer because of their own perception, I suppose, or their own sin.
And people talking down your fees, but you just accept it because you don't want to lose the business.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, sure. Whatever you're willing to pay, just don't leave me.
So you're like,
Can I renegotiate
No.
my fee? Oh, I can't.
I personally don't negotiate fees.
Till is strong.
What was that, Tony?
Well, just following on from the theme, what I discover when a client comes to me to either rebuild a website or there's a reason that they're coming to me about a website. And probably 90% of what I do is about determining what their market is, what the demographic is, almost a mini marketing analysis of the business first, before you can actually do an effective website that gets their message across and reflects the values of their business in the way that they want to reflect them. And that free 2-hour consultation that I have to do all that, 2 hours is barely enough time, believe me. And the client often says, gosh, that went by pretty quick, didn't it? Because very few small businesses, even medium-sized businesses, have a marketing plan, have any coping strategies written down that they follow. They really don't know the costs that are inherent in their businesses. So if you don't understand the costs, it's pretty hard to set a price for your services when you don't really know what it's costing you every day to run your business. So price setting really becomes a secondary thing until you work out what the value is of what it is you're doing. And once you understand that, then it's fairly easy to set a price, and then you've got to test that price in the market and say, well, that's what we need to charge. Is that going to be competitive? Are people willing to pay that amount of money for that service, that product, or that widget? So it's a process. It's not something you wake up one morning and say, oh, I really should be charging another $50 for that. My question would be, well, how do you know that and why?
I think, Steve, going from what Caroline said there, fear as well, there is a very innate fear of losing work. And the reality is that I have bills to pay, so I will accept whatever income within reason comes in the door, whereas what I'm told, and I've still got to grow up and learn how to do that, is you have to have enough faith in your own ability and what you do to actually say that I won't do that work at that price, because that knocks back the opportunity of doing the work I need to do at a better price. But the fear of doing that is the fear of not having the income. And that's why you accept it. And that's, I think, where the majority of us have the problem in small business, is the fact that we are dictated to, as opposed to valuing our worth, what David said earlier, and saying, that's what it's worth for me to do that. If you don't wish to do it at that price, then I'm not the person to do it for you.
And plus, we look so much at our competition, what everyone else is doing in the competition, and you get what you pay for. So there's cheap, and then there's cheap and nasty. So I'm totally agree with what David said, is that we need to value what we do more and charge accordingly, because otherwise we may as well get a job and just go home.
Have no hassles. And in saying that too, someone might be quite well off and they're doing this other thing as it like a hobby, just to keep a steady income coming through, whereas someone else, as we've said before, needs that, and you can't compare that with that one, because I mean your lifestyle, your living range is totally different, and it costs, well, you need to pay a bit more for yourself because you need the money. Really, whatever it is. I
think back to your mechanic is a case of he runs from home, he doesn't have a shop front, so he doesn't want to lose any of his existing business, because how does he grow it? It's only word of mouth, and if he's the right price, I go back to my business for 11 years, running out of the van from home. No one knew about it. There's so many people that didn't have a clue how long we've been around, 11 and a half years, and I was the same, wanting to be, as competitive as I could be across the board. I got competition everywhere from Brisbane, and that's where I am. Whereas now, Jason's come on board, and we are looking at expanding our range and our profit, I guess, GP, because we can. We have people come in, and we're still very competitive. But we've got that front. So if we lose a customer here, and you don't like to lose customers, it's a very competitive market, but you can get customers. Whereas if you're in the backyard, no one knows about you, no signage or anything. That's what I feel he's looking at. How does he grow customers? If you stop going there, how does he get another customer? It's word of mouth. So if he's the right price, that word of mouth flows on. Whereas, my business, is service as well. Like the right price and service. Just what price and service is so huge in a small business. And I just had a phone call from, referral from a customer yesterday. The amount of advertising, nothing really has ever come, but word of mouth is how my business is run. And because of the price and service. Price will get you in, and the service will get in the long run. I don't care what makes sense there.
The other side of the coin that happens, Steve, is quite often, and this has been explained to me by somebody who's a lot more knowledgeable than I am in all industries, in a large majority of industries, is the fact that quite often you lose work by being too cheap. Because people look at you and say, well, I've been quoted $1,500 from everybody else, and you can do it for $1,000. How? Obviously, you're going to use substandard materials or whatever, so that creates a problem as well. It's trying to find the happy medium. It's a $64,000 question. Dave?
I was just going to say too, that it depends on what your small business sells or provides, and I think we all got to be realistic. So my example of being a business growth consultant, that was my idea when I went into business, but maybe that's not where it's going to take me either. So I think you've got to be flexible and realistic about the services you provide how many other people are providing that service. Like if you're making a widget and there's 20 other people that make the same widgets, you've got to be realistic. And I think I agree with Jason, it's a service that's going to be the ongoing thing, that's going to carry business through. I mean, like your mechanic must provide a pretty good service. People go there.
It tends to be self-regulated.
Yeah.
Because I've put here that Teal's commission on investment property management will percentage-wise will be pretty close to just about every other real estate agent in town. I'm sorry to pick on real estate agents, but it's a good example. And I would ask, well, if I pick on Earl, he'll punch me. And I'm a bit close to. So if, for example, and Gary mentioned that, his cleaning and widgets, if his widget is the same as someone else's widget, it's very hard to differentiate on price. So your world, I'm sure that you guys do price checks and you get it from your landlords all the time. Oh, I can get 6.5% from your competitor down the road. So what do? You don't want to lose that client, so there's a bit of negotiation that goes on. So what happens is there's a self-regulation and it all settles, the dust all settles at where most competitors' pain thresholds lie. And you either survive at that level or you don't. And the only way to get out of that is to offer something different, okay, which allows you to increase a price for either a service or a widget because you're doing something different. And people, and that is of value to people. And it's not so much what you should be charging, because everybody's got a different cost base. It's how much are people prepared to pay for whatever it is that you are providing. That's the key question. And you only get to that if you apply some sort of scientific method and evidence-based marketing to work that out and test it before you go to the bank and borrow $300,000 for that business down the road because you want to buy yourself a job.
Wayne, you were going to say something?
I looked through just the other day court hearings and court cases on security. I gave Ross a printout of one of the court cases where a security company contracted to another security company to do a job. The contractor was not paying his employees, the correct wages. He was taken to court and fined. The primary guy was taken to court as well and fined $50,000 for knowing that his subcontractor wasn't paying his employees correctly. So it comes down to all businesses, check out who you entrust the people that you work with.
I'll tell you what I find interesting about that. They are taking this company to court because they're not paying their employees enough, but no one's taking me to court for not paying myself enough.
See yourself.
You'd have to see yourself.
I'd have to see myself. Okay, can I just throw something interesting out there? I started this off reasonably deliberately with money, okay? And this has gone a whole way around the room and very little talk has really come back to money, which I find interesting. In this change that I'm doing, I've been trying very hard to talk to people about what they believe is the right amount of money. And Dave, who I was talking about yesterday, said $800 to $1,000 a week, so that's 40 to 50 grand a year. I'm finding small business people are saying numbers between $60,000 and $80,000 a year is the amount of money that they are wanting, and I'm not necessarily saying that that's what they're getting. You have to be a fairly lowly rated government employee to be making $60,000 a year. And I find that very interesting. And I'm not going to ask the question, but I get the feeling that there aren't too many people in small business that are making as much as government employees. And I think because when they talk about it, they totally and completely skirt around it may have something to do with it. Just my thought.
I can say something about money.
Oh, good.
With the serviced office business, I pay the same amount of rent for the space I occupy, regardless of whether I have an occupant.
Yes.
So, starting out, I mean, for the first 15 years, filling the place, the more empty spaces, the more heavily I discounted to get bums on seats, for want of a better expression for that. But once it came to close to capacity, finally got it through my thick skull that value is what the cost should be what people are prepared to spend for the exceptional service that we provide, not as something to offset my costs. Okay, well that'll minimise my expense by having this at a discounted rate in that office. So as it's come close to capacity, I've steadily increased those rates, and there has not been any decline in takers. So if only I had decided that 10 years ago, I might have been in the tax position 10 years earlier.
Yeah, because you switched your thinking from
Yes.
what are people prepared to pay
Yes.
to your just filling your cost base up and plus a little bit more.
And from the minimum that I can do it for to get that person in, because they're making me a ridiculously low counter offer for the service that I'm going to provide, and I accept that because it's another number of dollars coming in to offset the costs. But I think I've changed my mindset from what I can do it for to what's fair and what's equitable and what will be good for me as well as what will be good for my client.
But I look at it with that too, is that you've got to find that size. But I found, like the law industry, and I've told our staff, don't be afraid to say no. We don't want that job, because if you're haggling here over the price, you can be damn sure you're going to be haggling all the way through it. You're going to be arguing when you're sending them a bill. It's just not worth it.
Well, that's it.
Just
I don't
say
have
no.
any more.
No, that's right.
That's the problem.
Come up with what you think you're worth, and hang in there, because as I said, people, that are arguing about it, it's just going to be a pain. And they're not going to pay the bill. They're going to argue about the bill. Do you really want them?
It's not worth it. They cost more than what they are paying you in the end, if they're like that.
And it's a lot of it's ignorance too, because for Earl, I pick on Earl. Earl lists a house. One day later, he sells the thing. Oh mate, seriously, you're taking that much commission? What have you done? Nothing. Well. And again, it's people think, people say the same, you sent a couple of letters and made a payment, and you're charging me this. No, they've got a bit more than that, but they don't know, but they're going to argue about it.
People don't see the cost to run a business. Managers come in places like a lot of hotels, and they see the money coming in, they go, they're ripping us off, we're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're paying us 80 grand to be here, and look at all the money coming in. Cost of running the business, and they say all the time, how expensive in the last 9 months since we moved in Australia. Straight away, you double. But and service, you kept saying service, it's service.
Going back to Christine, I think there's a fine line between, and like Richard, is a survival and then setting the price, because I think when any business starts, you're surviving, you're trying to keep you out of water.
And it's hard to break out of that mentality.
So there's a line, I think, where you come to where you think, okay, I'm not going to cop this anymore, but it's, for a while, I think it's survival, and like Richard said, you've got bills to pay. And until you come to a point where you say, okay, like you said, well, this is the price, take a look.
Steve, I'll tell you something quite funny about service and price that Gary was talking about there. I had a guy come in a few weeks ago. He came in on a Monday, he wanted a lamination done. Asked me what the price was, I told him, and he said, that Office Works is $2 cheaper. I said, well, you drive carefully and off you go. So he said, no, but they can't do it till Thursday. So I said, So he said, well, will you match Officeworks' price? And on principle, I said, no, I won't. So he carried on, and why? Why wouldn't you do this? It's only $2, and he said, this is more than $2 worth of time I'm talking to you, but I was having humour with it as well. So eventually I said to him, all right, I will match Officeworks. He said, oh, great, good on you. So I said, so what time Thursday do you want to pick it up? He said, no, I want to, you said you could do it today. I said, for the $2 more. Because that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the fact that I can do it.
Match their price, match
He
their
said, all
sales.
right, he did pay.
I want to finish up, I guess, what we find in the hospice, as Gary said, it's costs. So whether we have 6 beds full or empty, it still costs us $805 per bed per day to run that hospice, whether there's anyone in there or not. That's something that, we'll just talk generally about the costs in running places. And trying to explain that to certain people, they just don't understand, well, you're only half full, so it only costs half. It's not that. You've got to have the minimum staff in there, you're still paying power, so it's just explaining those sort of things to people.
You could say to people, when you're on vacation and living at home, does the bank allow you to stop making payments? Of course not.
Yeah, that's a good thing, So it's, just getting that message here for people to understand, that's why we charge what we do, what we can charge, but that's why we raise what we're going to raise.
Okay, I think what we have done is we've run out of time, but I would like to give the word of the day to Richard for, what was it? What time on Thursday would you like to pick up? Thank you.